With us now is Hector Gavilla, and he is with LIP Realty. Welcome to our show, Hector.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, nice to have you here. I love real estate. It's one of the things that makes me happy. I used to do house portraits, and I love talking to people that are in real estate because it's like what you get to do every day of your life, right?
Yes.
So now, we were talking a little bit in the green room about things that buyers and sellers can do to help improve their likelihood of making a deal come true. So let's talk about that. Start from a buyer's perspective.
Okay, well, one of the biggest challenges today is getting financing. So what a buyer should do almost immediately is contact a reputable mortgage broker or a bank and get what's known as a pre-approval. This way, when they go to make an offer on a home, the seller, who already is nervous about the buyers out there, will look at them as a credible buyer. It also benefits the buyer in another way, that when the buyer has the pre-approval in front of their face, they know exactly what house they can afford. So when they go out there and look for homes, they spend the time more efficiently looking for the right type of home.
I remember when I got my first pre-approval for the house, how exciting even that was. It's not really loan commitment yet, but at least it's like if you do everything right, you don't make any mistakes between then and the time you're going to close on your house, chances are everything's going to go smoothly. What are some other things that buyers can do?
Well, what buyers should do also is on a regular basis check their credit scores and their credit report. And there's many resources out there that they can go to that are free online to check to see that they're paying their bills on time. Because when they're applying for a loan, the bank sees a $100 payment as the same thing as a $20,000 payment. It doesn't matter what that payment is. If you're behind on the payment, that affects your score as well. And when you, let's say you're the buyer and we're going to present an offer to the seller, we need to be able to prove to the seller that you are a great buyer.
Now, it's 600, 650, 700, like, how does the credit score work? I mean, does 10 points make a difference? Like, what's the threshold and how can you make your credit better?
Well, truthfully, I'm not a bank, but what I will always tell the buyer to do is to contact the bank. And there's not much you can do, from what I understand, to improve the credit score in such a short time. But the importance of contacting the bank is to at least know what the bank will be able to do for you. And this way, when you go out with somebody like me or one of my agents, we can help you find the house that you can afford.
That makes a lot of sense. Any other really great tips for buyers?
Yes, for buyers, what they should definitely do is just be realistic about, what they can afford as well. Go to open houses, let the agents know, what it is that they need, be specific as possible, so that this way we can show them, what's out there and not waste their time or waste our time as well. Because sometimes, they'll tell us or not tell us enough information, and there's plenty of inventory out there. Such things, for example, like what school district is important to them, what town, where do they work? Is it important to be near where their location is for work, and so forth.
And I know that's one of the things that you specialize in. When somebody comes to you, you kind of customize your search for that person, which I think is great. At LIP.
Oh, thank you very much. The other thing, too, that I recommend that they should do is also get an attorney from day one.
Okay.
Believe it or not, people don't realize this, but let's say that you have an accepted offer, and now the seller's attorney wants to send the contract over to your attorney, but you don't have one, and it's a Saturday, and we just accepted the offer. Now what do you have to do? You're forced to have to find an attorney at the last minute, and it may not be the best one. So when I first consult with a buyer, one of the first questions I ask them is, who is your real estate attorney? And then I'll give them a list of suggestions, and I'll tell them that they should interview them now, so this way they feel comfortable with the pricing and also with their customer service. Because some of the things I look for in an attorney is that they get back to them right away. Very important, because what happens sometimes in this field is that the contracts will be sent out to an attorney. The attorney lets it sit on their desk because they may be in court all day or have other things that they're doing. And unfortunately, the seller will blame it on the buyer. And if there's another offer that comes in and they work faster than the initial buyer, that buyer may lose it, all because they chose the wrong attorney.
Hector, that's great advice, but now what can the seller do?
Okay, there's many things that the seller can do. Number one, they should price the house correctly and listen to their real estate broker. We've had enough experience to know what will sell. The second thing that they should do is also get a pre-inspection. At my company, we actually provide that service for free. What we'll do for our homeowners is we'll have a licensed inspector come in, inspect the entire house for them before we even put it on the market. This way they could determine if there's any major problems, such as problems with the structure or the plumbing or the electric, and that will also save them problems down the road, because buyers, when they purchase a home, they have the right to hire their own inspector, and that inspector, of course, is hired to find problems, and many of them can be legitimate. And I had one experience several years ago when I first started in the business where the deal fell apart, all because the inspector scared the potential buyer and they walked away. And it was a legitimate problem. So at that moment, I realized to myself this was a very necessary service that I had to provide the sellers to avoid that from happening. So this way, when we first get the listing, if we do identify a real problem, they have enough time to hire a contractor. So this way they could fix the problems, and therefore when a buyer makes an offer, everything goes much smoother.
So you're more of a facilitator of a real estate transaction, I think, Hector. Is that fair to say? You're not just an agent showing houses, you're not just listing houses, but you're really facilitating the deal.
That's correct. I look at myself as a consultant where I'm here to help them have a happy experience. And my belief has always been that in the transaction, all parties should be happy. There's this false belief, I think, that, if I'm working for the seller, I only want to make the seller happy. No, I want the buyer and the seller, the other agents that are involved in the transaction as well, to all be happy, because that's the only good negotiation when you sell a home and the buyer is very happy that they have a new home. The seller is thrilled that they sold the home and they could go on to the next home, and so on. So that's very, very important to us.
You sound like you're really passionate about what you do for a living, and it shows. So for these great tips and more, I could send them to our website if you would wanted to put a few real estate tips up there for us.
Absolutely.
That would be great.
Great.
You can reach Hector through us at liveituptvshow.com. Stay tuned for more of Live It Up.